Yeah, so the idea came about to some degree because I've always been sort of obsessed with Jonestown and would always love to do like this big 8-part miniseries about Jonestown, but since that's never going to happen, I decided to sort of come up with my own sort of updated version of it. And part of my obsession with Jonestown is not just the sort of mass suicide or not just the shocking elements of it, but I think that I've never really seen many cults movies that make the cults relatable, and I think that, you know, nobody joins a cult, you end up just being in one. And so I wanted to make a movie where the horror in this movie was three-dimensional, and that even though hopefully you in the theater would be like, well, I wouldn't do that, but you can kind of understand why they would. And I think that's what's always been interesting to me about Jonestown, is that they're not just mindless zombies who killed themselves. It's a much more complicated story than that, and I think that it's unfair when people get labeled that way. So that's where the sort of genesis of the idea came from, was to make something. My last movie was this very lighthearted workplace supernatural ghost comedy. It was like a totally different vibe than this. And so I wanted to do something very steeped in realism, and I felt like this was the opportunity to do that. And as far as doing it in a documentary style, I felt like it was the right aesthetic to make the film feel authentic and to make it feel real, because I think that, you know, there's a lot of social commentary, a lot of topical issues, a lot of issues that were relevant to people in the 60s and 70s who joined People's Temple are still relevant today. And I felt like if this really happened today, you would be getting it in this sort of new media format. That's how we would hear about it. And I felt like if I could tell the story that way, it would be relatable in that sense. And as far as using Vice, you know, I think that using a real brand as opposed to a made-up brand, you know, when you leave here tonight and you see Vice somewhere in real life, it lets the movie continue to resonate, because it's something that, again, feels like it's plausible that this could happen, because there's something in it that exists outside of the movie that's not something that I only made up for the movie. And I also think that what they do is really great, and they're doing really cool investigative journalism that doesn't feel slanted, or it doesn't feel like they have an agenda. It doesn't feel like they're going to the right or to the left. It feels like they're just honestly documenting the stories that they are.
Great.
Did I get everything?
Yeah, no, that's great. That's a fantastic answer.